As always, thank you so much for your time today. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Hurry back, Kev.
Will do. While the Democrats prepare to take over the White House, Republicans are preparing for at least 4 years without someone in the Oval Office. And so we wonder, what's next for the GOP? David Paul Kuhn is a senior reporter for Politico.com, and Bob Franken is a political analyst. Gentlemen, great to have you. Let me begin with you, Bob. So where's the GOP headed?
Well, the GOP has to decide that. There are quite a few really differing factions in the GOP, the Grand Old Party, and I think that that was really a problem for John McCain, because McCain, up until he decided to change his tune, had been sort of a thorn in the side of the Republican ultra-conservatives, what do you want to call them, the social conservatives, that type, but he had to pull them in because they provided what is commonly called the base. Now the Republican Party is going to have to decide what it has to do to stay relevant.
All right, David Paul, let me ask you. Sarah Palin is scheduled to appear at the Republican Governors Association meeting next week. I'm wondering, how important is she to the future of the party and to the face, or the way, maybe the way Americans look at the GOP moving forward?
Well, she's certainly the most popular Republican to the Republican base in the country. Now, that does not mean that she's the next Republican nominee for the presidency. If we had polled, in fact, we did poll shortly after the 2004 campaign, and you have candidates like Hillary Clinton or even a Joe Lieberman. Anyone who has been in sort of this discussion leads early polls. So Sarah Palin's important. At the same time, Palin's political future on a national stage depends dearly on her reaching beyond her social conservative and conservative base and showing herself and proving that she is not perhaps the stereotype that many people have labeled her, and that she is a moderate, at least moderate enough, to have appeal in the Senate.
Hey, Bob, I'm going to ask you to maybe make a stretch with me, a leap here. Is it possible that Mitt Romney is going to enjoy the sort of support that maybe Reagan did post-1976? Follow me on this, if you will. Reagan didn't win in 76. He came back very strong in 80. Romney didn't win the nomination this time out, but there's I think, a pretty good chance he could come back very strong 4 years from now. And given how the economy has been going, might he sort of take that similar path, do you think?
Well, I think that it certainly is one that he wants to be able to take, but there is a really big difference. Ronald Reagan was a natural campaigner, was somebody who was very comfortable on camera, did not look like a contrivance, none of which I really think that you can say about Mitt Romney. The first thing he's going to have to do, and I mean this literally, is to clean up his act.
Clean up his act how?
He's going to have to learn how to act. He's going to have to learn how to be warm and fuzzy and do all of the kinds of things that Ronald Reagan was able to do as he was making his serious positions and outlining them. Mitt Romney looked like somebody who would, to use a famous expression from the previous election, flip-flop, that he was an opportunist. Ronald Reagan, on the other hand, looked like somebody who was true to his convictions, was very steady with them.
All right, let me bring you back in on this one, David Paul. Good stuff, by the way, Bob. Mike Huckabee has tried to stay in the spotlight. He remains fairly popular. Of course, he's been plugging his new book. He's hosting a weekly show on Fox News. Do you think that'll help him moving forward? Is he the guy? I mean, we've talked a lot, frankly, about this idea of the GOP moving away from the social conservative wing of the party. What do you think about Huckabee's chances?
You know, Mike Huckabee's burden is in some sense like Sarah Palin's. He has to prove that he has the intellectual gravitas to be the next president of the United States in 2012, and he's going to go after it. Mike Huckabee, to be sure, is a spectacular debater. He's excellent on the stump. He probably was the most natural politician, arguably, in the 2008 campaign, with an exception perhaps to Joe Biden if at his more disciplined performances. So for Huckabee and Palin, their popularity among social conservatives is important. There was no gains for Barack Obama among the 3 in 10 voters that are white weekly churchgoers. Now, the Republican Party's lesson in 2008, if anything, is that they simply can't win with a 90% white voter base. They obviously have to turn the Latino tide to some extent, a significant extent, and make inroads with other minority groups. But you can't simply disregard the strongest bulwark of your party. So both Palin and Mike Huckabee have to prove themselves popular with this bulwark while proving themselves expansive enough to expand the Republican coalition.
Yeah, you have to expand the base, but as you said, there are a lot of folks inside the party, and Bob, we'll talk about this at another time, that simply say, look, getting away from conservatism is what got the party in this particular position. All right, guys, thank you very much. David Paul Kuhn and Bob Franken, fellas, thanks.
Thank you.
More than 20